Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and today we're checking out a new giant mouse, and we're going to compare it to a couple of the other giant mouses that would be somewhat in the same realm of this one. Now, this is the new Titanium Rio. You might remember the Micarta version of the Rio, which was a pretty popular model when it first came out as a very lightweight, sleek, slim knife that's very easy to carry and that's using, good steel. We have MAGNACUT steel on both versions. The Micarta one is a liner lock option with a deep carry clip with a titanium backspacer. Now, I'm pretty sure there's other materials besides the denim micarta or the blue micarta that I have here, but this one is the titanium one. So we have a titanium frame lock. So it's not a liner lock anymore. Still, we still have a titanium backspacer that does act as the lanyard hole with a reversible deep carry spring pocket clip or wire clip. Sorry, not spring, wire pocket clip, which I do like. I love the wire clips. Some people look at it and they're like, how could you put a wire clip on top of a very expensive knife? And the reason why is because they are the smoothest in and out of the pocket, especially when you're talking about on top of textured material or anything like that. It makes it to where you are far more likely to carry it and far less likely for any issues to happen to the pants that you're wearing or anything like that. Yeah, I do agree that it doesn't look as good as a milled titanium pocket clip, but it definitely functions far, far better. Now, there are some titanium mill pocket clips that are amazing. But anyways, we have MAGNACUT blade, beautiful satin finish. Love that satin. Nice deep satin. They did a good job with the edge. The edge feels nice and sharp. Then we have the titanium frame lock, and you can see good access to that lock bar. Love to see that. This is riding on bearings, so it's very, very smooth. The whole deployment for the reverse flick, there's plenty of access. It looks a little small looking at it, but it's not. It's plenty of access. The edge of it is plenty sharp, even though it's not sharp, actually. It's not sharp. It is crowned. That's weird. It does have the chamfer around the edge, which I typically say don't do, especially if the hole's going to be tight, but this one works great. The spine of the blade is crowned. That's very nice. Nice jimping right there. Ergonomics, very narrow, which it makes it to where it's a super slim, easy knife to hold. Like, it's not going to be something that you'd want to bear down hard use on, but it's going to be really comfortable for normal everyday cutting tasks. Pinch grips are going to be great. Slicing will be fine. And because of its neutral handle, you can easily turn it around, cut straps, or have it in any other grip. And it should work for pretty much everybody's hands, whether you have a small or large hand. Now, if you have a very, very big hand, it might feel a little small to you, but it's still a full-size knife. And very slicey, too. Good geometry. I do like the geometry they did on the Rio. I was a big fan of the denim Rio. Like I said, it was for somebody who wants that. Because at the time when this first came out, by the way, MAGNACUT wasn't on everything. So they were one of the first ones to use MAGNACUT, and so that was one thing that did create a little hype around it, but also being a new model and having this narrow stature that makes it a lot more EDC friendly. Now, this one's going to be more affordable than this one, obviously. Difference in materials, lots of milling on the inside, and if you look, well, at least on the show side, if you look, you can see there is branding on the inside of the scale right there. I love how they put the lock bar cutout on the inside. They actually have both, so they have it on the inside and outside. I'm happy with that because I'm sure it's going to be I know you're never going to, chew anything up on that. Like, it's going to be super smooth. The lock bar insert is done from the inside, and you can see the screw head right there that they did round over. You see the transition from the steel to the titanium. Now, the detent ball, again, I said this recently, so this one's a ceramic ball for sure. I can see how it's black. That's a ceramic ball. This one looks, am I wrong? Maybe it is ceramic. It looks steel though. It looks like a steel ball to me. See that compared to that. Maybe it's not coming over the camera very well. I could be wrong. But if it was steel, I would prefer it to be ceramic. And it probably is ceramic. I'm probably just catching the light wrong. The drop on it, very, very smooth because of the bearings. Riding on ceramic cage bearings, or at least I believe it's ceramic cage. I don't think they are steel bearings, but it always is possible. They look like ceramic cage bearings because it's a plastic cage, which I love seeing that. I like the plastic cage ceramic bearings. Let me explain why. So the material that they make the bearings out of, not the balls, but the actual thing that holds the balls, because it's like a Teflon or like a you know, somewhat of like a plastic, it holds oil in it very well. So when you do oil it, you're going to be a lot more likely that that's going to help capture the oil and continue keeping the bearings nice and smooth, because ceramic cage bearings are self-lubricating. That means that they stay slick for a very long time. Their surface is very, very smooth. So having that along with that just makes it, you know, much more likely that it's going to be nice and smooth for the long run, and you're not going to have to oil it constantly. Now, before we pull up some of these other models I want to show you, I want to talk about some negatives really quick. So one negative is a plunge rind, sharp drone plunge rind. You know, it's going to create a smile. Maybe not the first sharpening, but definitely by the second one. The original one was pretty much the same way. You know, they actually it's a little deceiving, but that's why I just want, you know, the end of the plunge rind to be away from the edge. It makes it much easier to sharpen, so you don't cut into the plunge rind when you try to sharpen. The next negative is detent is slightly on the lighter side. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm okay with it, so I don't want to say negative when I say this. I'm just saying that some people might consider it, that was my fault, some people might consider it light. But because of the way the hole is and it being a narrow knife, that might be a good thing. And for lefties, it's going to be a really good thing because it allows you to easily reverse flick it even with full pressure on the lock bar. So the detent is slightly on the lighter, like you can hear it. It's still good. But it's not definitely on the strong side. I would call it a 4 out of 10, right? 5 being perfect, 4 being slightly on the lighter side, 6 being slightly on the harder side. It'd be about a 4. Now, next little negative or next nitpick, whatever, is the stop pin back here. Now, it's not that big of a deal because it is in the thick portion of the blade, but because the plunge grind's bad, I would love to be able to cut my own choil in, which I technically still can. I just got to make sure I do it in front of the stop pin area and I don't cut into this area, which would be pretty easy to do. So it's not that big of a deal, but you know, having stop pins not there leaves it open for business. You know, that's all I'm saying. Most people aren't going to do that. Most people aren't going to cut their own choil in. Most people are just going to sharpen it the way it is. And if the plunge grind winds up getting hit and they don't like it, they'll just put a little sharpening notch there. And in that case, you have all the room in the world. So not a lot of negative here. This is really cool. I still like this knife quite a bit. You know, I obviously like this one even more than this one because I love me some titanium. So I believe these are, I'm not positive. I was gonna say, I think they're made in Italy, but I'm not positive and I don't see that. Yes, these are made in Italy. So this one's at least made in Italy. Let's see this one. Does this say? Yes. So both of these are made in Italy. Now let's bring up another relatively new knife from Giant Mouse. Another sleek, very slim, somewhat of a gentlemanly type knife while being a little bit of a Persian. It is a slight Persian, so it does cant up just a little bit, making it really good for like skinning purposes and things like that, cutting your steak. Very slim titanium frame lock handle. Very, very smooth, man. This one is super duper smooth, but this one's had more time to break in. Detent, you know, pretty similar to this, but because it's so narrow and small, I'm actually happy for that. Kind of like I was talking about with this one, you know, it makes it much more fidgety, and I don't have to worry about, you know, gritting my teeth to open it because it is narrow, sleek, and slim. And that hole is, you know, it's not difficult to get to. The hole is very easy to deploy. But if it was a super strong detent, it might not be as easy. They did the steel lock bar insert basically the same way. Good access to the lock bar. The blade steel, again, is MAGNACUT steel. Now, what are they doing their HRC at? I'm not 100%. I recently heard that they did bump it up to, as far as the Italian stuff, to, I think 62 to 64. So if that is true, that's awesome. I love to hear that. So the next one, the Sonoma. The Sonoma V2, this thing is, I love this knife, man. What a phenomenal detent. And it has the same sleek slimness as these knives, with contoured micarta scales that are very, very comfortable. Beautiful drop point blade. I love this. It's actually, yeah, it's a drop point. Beautiful drop point blade with a crown spine, a nice little finger twirl, a little choke up spot. Great access to that lock bar. Super smooth. And the detent is just, or the flipper tab with the detent is just very, very satisfying. This is a great one. I love this model. Then one more, the Iona. So the Iona is a little bit beefier now, as far as like handle. It's not as slim as some of these ones, but it is still relatively slim. And it has this arch right here where it goes from thicker to slimmer, but it's still thick enough that it's not annoying with your pinky. It's locked in. It feels really good. And the blade here has a beautiful, almost, it's a very, very fine satin. Super fine. S90V steel, as you can see right there. Look at that satin. Beautiful satin. Good access to the liner. And then the thumb studs are super good. Like, I love this thumb stud action right here. It is on washers, which makes it a little bit more tight in the pivot, but the deployment, man, with the detent is perfect on this one. And with these thumb studs being nice and grippy, man, it cranks out there really good. And the washers are very, very smooth, almost hydraulic-like, what some people would call. I mean, you can see I can easily drop it. So if I can drop it like that, that tells you how smooth these washers are. Now, this one is titanium scales with a steel liner lock. And I'm not sure about this one being made in Italy. Yes, it is. This one's also made in Italy. So I think all of these are made in Italy. Not 100%. This one's an LMAX steel, by the way. But that's just a quick look at a few giant mouses. I do have a lot more giant mouses, but these are kind of in the same realm with each other as far as being somewhat sleek, somewhat slim knives, you know, that are built very, very well and can pretty much take on whatever you're going to use it for as far as just regular daily cutting tasks, but not beefy enough to do anything too crazy, which, you know, this is really what most people want to carry, is something, you know, in this size range. So there you guys go. Work hard, stay tough. Until next time, peace.